Thank you very much for your report.
Okay, I have one other issue that I asked to hopefully be pushed forward to my time since
IT committee.
Yes, sir.
Want to join us up at the table, Paul? And a lot of people are talking about the new web page and hearing about it everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you.
What I've given you is a one-page article out of April's New Hampshire Municipal Association's Town and Country, I guess it is, Town and City. Anyway, I really don't need to talk about this, but the one thing I just tripped on this today was it talks about technical insights, information steering committees, and it talks about committee membership. And assembling an IT steering committee, which not necessarily what we're talking about. Think small and strategic. Committee should include representatives from finance, human resources, key operations, and the IT manager. When I'd heard originally that you gentlemen were talking about an IT committee, one of the things that I really wanted to make sure was that, and hopefully Paul will agree, that someone from our group, IT, would be on that committee because,
absolutely,
you know, if you're talking about a project, it sort of makes sense to have the IT guy sitting there going, okay, yeah, that's possible, or I've looked at this, or this is my idea, or I'll get back to you, whatever. So you don't work in a vacuum and then come in and discuss issues with IT and then find out that, you know, something we've already dealt with or whatever. So that really was the reason I just brought this article in, and then I just wanted to see what we'd like to do.
Do you have some comments, Paul?
No, I'm just pretty much going to sit here for right now.
Okay. Mr. Bean?
I would be interested in the town manager's insight on the. We've talked about this for several months now.
We have, Mr. Chairman. I can't see how you can possibly put an IT steering committee together to just talk about the problems and not address it with the individuals who are actually operating on the problems. You just need to do that. You need to have some insight into what's going on within the system. So I think that Paul should be there and should help that committee as much as he possibly can. And it should be a fairly wide committee. It should have enough influence to look at the real world, so that we start looking at what's out there, what can be done with it, what people want, how it can be displayed, how it can be represented to them, what information we want to impart, what's the best way to do that. And I think Paul's the key to that factor, at least one of them.
So I would just continue, Mr. Chairman. It's funny how simple minds think alike. I did bring this in. I had it open. Couldn't agree with it more. I would I would want to up that article in our technology steering committee, advisory committee, whatever we so name it, would integrate up the ladder with the technology committee with the state of New Hampshire, develop granularity. So it should be a wide net. Of course, you two people would be on it, and it would be a force multiplier. We talk about these tight budgets, these default budgets, these bond payments that will commence, the narrowing of resources. And we met today with the folks from Parks for the state of New Hampshire, and specifically on the memoranda, the MOU is broach that subject, and are going to nuance that collection of data that the town manager is working with department heads. So we move that ball forward. And the technology committee is the integral part of that, how we capture that data, how we integrate with the state, and how we integrate with the departments in the town. And I think that I would like to see that committee, perhaps the board would as well, instituted, organized, and effected and launched sooner rather than later.
Okay. Mr. Pierce?
Yes, I think all you're thinking is very good there, Mike and Paul, and yours, Phil. I think Phil and I are on the same page on that, moving out, capturing the whole world, along with Fred's remarks, I think that's why we need to have people thinking outside the box. And I think that's why I've been leaning on this, the direction I've been going with it for all along. I do think that the committee could work very well in supporting your people, I mean Mike and Paul, very well, because Paul is already knee-deep in stuff, doing his job every day. And if we try to take him too much away from those regular activities and involve him with a lot of this, we might live to regret it. And I'm just saying that I think it's great that he's on the committee, but I don't think that we want to distract him too much from what he's doing, because he's already buried, unless you want to give another helper down there, okay? So I think that we'd be really smart in having the committee be a standalone committee, like Phil indicated, and work to support our two people rather than take them away from what they're doing now, is all I'm saying. So I think that's very important, because it's a valuable tool that could be used every day to help both of our people research something they think it's a good idea that helps supplement what we're doing currently, let alone what might happen down the road. So I think we definitely got to be very careful how much we take our people away and put them somewhere out in the woods where they won't be able to do their regular job, is the only thing I'm concerned about.
Mr. Moore?
No comments.
Mr. Nichols?
Yeah, a couple. One, as I stated when we talked about this a week or two ago, I think it's essential that Paul be actively involved in that. I understand what Mike is saying about resources or whatever, but Paul and Mike are big boys, and if there's something that they're being requested, they can speak up, and if that's problematic, we'll deal with it. But I don't see how this could succeed if Paul was not involved in it. That's number one. Number two is that we're already seeing, an example is the website, some of the benefits of expanding Paul's department in areas he wasn't involved with a couple of years ago by virtue of adding the second resource, Chris, a part-timer, but that's still, if you stay away from overtime or whatever, like a 75% increase in resources compared back to whenever it was 3 years ago, when Paul pretty much had to almost be like the dike boy, just trying to keep the stuff from flooding. So that's my second comment. My third comment, and this is not something that I've really given any thought other than the couple of sentences that I'm going to say, but I wonder if there aren't some synergies between what goes on with Channel 22 and some of that technology versus the IT committee or whatever. And I'm wondering if going forward that it makes sense for those to be two totally different entities, because obviously, it's all information. It may be digital information in the case of 22 that's output over a cable TV signal, but I think long-term those things only come together, and I just have a problem long-term seeing those as being two totally separate entities that don't talk to one another. So that's the extent of my my comments.